All right, hello everyone. Thanks for joining today for today's webinar. Today's webinar is going to be about long-term business perspective. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Thea Charles. I live in Franklin, Massachusetts, where I live with my husband Al and our two boys, Owen and Christopher. They are 6 and 4, and they are wild little ones. Kara asked me to talk about this topic because she thought it was something that would be really great for everyone. So I'm just going to start by telling you a little bit about myself and then some keys that we use for our own personal success in having a great realistic vision of our business. So when I started LuLaRoe, I started in 2015 and not many people knew about it. I was working full-time. I worked 8-hour days with a 3-hour round trip commute. And, I was tired. I was really tired. The boys were both in daycare, and Al and I used to joke that each kid cost a mortgage, so that at the end of the month, after paying for daycare and our own mortgage, that we felt like we were just totally thin and we needed something extra in our lives, something to help us get a savings account, basically. So when LuLaRoe came along, we saw it as a great opportunity, and I thought, I think this is something I can do. So when we were talking about whether or not I would start this business, I said to him, we have to be really realistic at what we're expecting to get out of this. And that's what really started this whole conversation. Like, well, what is really going to happen when we start LuLaRoe? It's not going to become this get rich quick scheme. We're not going to just get inventory and then boom, be wildly successful. What is it going to take to actually get there? So the first thing that I knew, that I was going to have to make a lot of sacrifices. Like I said, I was working full time, so I knew that I was going to have to be really regimented in my schedule, that we would have to really look at what we had for time and see what we could do to work our business, which meant giving up a lot of things. I don't really watch very much TV, we had to be really planful of how we were working our weekend and how we were taking care of our family time, work time, and making sure that this business was working. I also knew that I had to get out of my comfort zone. I'm a homebody. I'm someone who likes to stay home. I'm pretty quiet. And I knew that I would have to come outside of myself. I'd have to be comfortable speaking to people, and I'd have to do things that would normally be uncomfortable. I signed up for a lot of vendor events, and I went to these events not with the expectation that I was going to be selling product. I went there with the expectation that I'd be selling myself. I had to explain what I was doing. I had to tell people about the brand and about me, so that in the long run, when they came back, they would have a consultant that they already knew. I have a couple of notes. Hold on a sec. We knew that nothing worthwhile would come without the sacrifice. So the other thing that sacrifice can be different for everyone. One thing for us, we knew that we weren't going to be able to pay ourselves right away, that we were going to have to be reinvesting in our business. And that was just something that we just had to know. We had to know going into it that if we wanted to make a strong foundation, we had to have that schedule set. We had to know that we weren't necessarily going to be rolling in dough once we started, that we were going to have to take our money and reinvest it until we had something that had a strong foundation. We also knew that even if things started to get awesome, if our business is building and building, that there was going to be at least at some point where we'd be hills and valleys, and that it's not always going to be smooth sailing, that sometimes it's going to be really rough, and maybe you're not even going to want to do it anymore. But you have to make sure that you have your goals in mind, that you have a set goal that that you're working toward, which, we call that our why. And once you have that, you can set smaller goals to help you on your way. Because sometimes it's really hard to look into the distance and see what your end game is going to be. What is it that you're ultimately working on? So you have to give yourself little things along the way. And for us, we always use that as vacation. So when we started, we couldn't even imagine really going on a spur of the moment vacation because, like I said, we were really stretched thin. So we're getting to where we need to go is we set that vacation. Next summer, we're going to just do something totally spur of the moment. It's not going to be totally planned out. We're not going to be saving up for it. It's just going to happen. And that's when we know that we've been doing what we needed to do. And we're really fortunate that that's what ended up happening. We had that we're working towards. What else? So we talked about making sure that we had our schedule. being comfortable being outside of your comfort zone, and knowing that this is not a get rich quick scheme. This is something that requires a lot of work. I don't know. Do you guys have any type of questions? When you're looking at your long-term perspective, you're really looking at something that you just have to know that every day is not going to be an awesome day. That's probably the most important thing to know. Every day is not going to be awesome. Some days you're going to feel like you're doing a whole lot of work and you might not be seeing the fruits of your labor. You might say, oh, I made all these outfits today, but no one bought anything. But you have to remember that you're basing your foundation for the next sale. You also have to know that any type of forward momentum means that you can't always be the same. What you did last year and what you did yesterday may not be something that works for you the next day. You have to be okay with changing and adapting, and changing your strategies. So, the change might be within you, the way you run your business. The change might be LuLaRoe making changes, and you just have to be okay with bending and changing and moving with that. You also have to know that your customer base is going to change. At the end of who you had at the very beginning shopping from you may not be shopping from you a year or two from now. And that might just simply because their closet is full of LuLaRoe. Now you have other people. You have to be able to listen to your customers and see what it is that they need. When I started out, it was really easy for me to, I wouldn't say easy, but when I was my first year of LuLaRoe, I felt like a lot of the things that I did was more introducing the brand to people, telling people how something fits and how it flatters. Whereas this year, I feel like I am doing more of a consulting styling type feel, where I'm putting outfits together and showing people how to use their pieces in a more versatile way. That's one way that I've evolved since starting. So what comes down the line, who knows what's going to come down the line? Maybe it'll be more of like, a lot of people are doing capsules and different things like that. I mean, I can't even broadcast what's going to come, but I know that when I get there that I'm going to have to mold and shape myself in a slightly different way, always reinventing. And that's one thing that we really expected anyway. We expected that we were going to be like Madonna, like Britney Spears. When you see a pop star, you never see them being exactly the same all the way through their career. You know that there has to be a change to correlate with the time that you're currently in. And I think that's basically it. Basically, when you are looking at anything that is worthwhile, you have to be looking, that there's going to be a sacrifice, and you have to decide what that sacrifice is, and you have to know what your goal is. It's really hard to work if you have no goal. So you have to make sure that you have some goal, you have your why that you're working towards, and then give yourself something along the way that you can be measuring your progress. So that's all I really have. Does anyone have any questions? I know it's not really a question type thing. You can definitely unmute yourself if you have any questions. Other things I would suggest for those of you that are going to conventions, make sure that you soak up everything that you can. There will be a lot of ideas that are out there. Use this as an opportunity to build your business. This is another way for you to kind of reinvent yourself, get new life into yourself by going to convention. And if you're not going to convention, keep your ears to what's going on. Find out new things that someone might come back with. I'm sure there'll be lots of webinars after that. Always be a learner. That is really important. Always learn. Before we used to just talk about cottony feel and silky feel. Now we have so many different types of fabrics that you just really want to always be upping your game. Another thing that I had to do that was different from when I started, like I said, I'm kind of like a quiet person. I'm not someone who likes to be in the spotlight or on screen or taking pictures of myself. I'm someone who never used to be in pictures, but I decided that I had to up my Instagram game. I needed to meet new people, and I needed to use different media outside of my little Facebook circle. I had to get beyond that. So I used Instagram, which was, different, a new thing to learn, and I really enjoy it. So, there's just, you just have to look beyond what you're doing. You can't always just say, well, this is what I do every day. Every day this is what I do, and this is going to be okay forever. You have to know that anything that's worth working for, there's going to be changes, and you have to have forward momentum. Okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining, and this was super short and sweet. I hope to see you all in convention, and Talk to you next time. Oh, oh.